This is one of the strongest alcoholic drinks on the planet. It's called Poitín, also known as Mountain Dew or Irish Moonshine. It has an infamous reputation because it was banned for over 300 years. I'm going to try it today, but I don't really know what to expect. This bottle is 90% ABV. That's 180% proof. But before I try it, here's some stuff that I learned about this ancient and notorious spirit. When you think of black market bootlegged booze, forget the US Prohibition. That only ran for about 15 years. There's a particular Irish drink called Poitín. It's between 40 and 90% ABV.
Really good stuff.
Making it one of the strongest brews ever. An average beer, to put that into comparison, is around 4 to 6%. The word Poitín derives from the ancient Gaelic word for small pot and small drink. Poitín is one of the oldest alcoholic spirits in the world and is believed to have originated in the 6th century, although due to its illicit status there is no definitive record. It was banned under Irish law for 336 years. The Poitín prohibition lasted until 1997, but it certainly didn't stop anyone producing it, possessing it or consuming it. Quite the opposite, in fact. At the height of the prohibition, anyone who had a sizable rural farm would also typically have their own DIY underground distillery, pumping it out. The authorities, the guards or the customs and excise, known colloquially as the Excise Man, would have to catch the bootlegger red-handed brewing it in order to give them a fine.
Yet if it was, say, his first offence.
Yeah, the first offence roughly fined about £10.
Throughout the 19th century, as the laws aimed at stopping this illegal trade increased, Poitín makers adopted clever cat-and-mouse techniques to avoid detection. However, militarized detachments from the revenue were sent to combat the illegal Poitín making. Sometimes deadly altercations occurred, according to this 1992 study. So these Poitín brewers would actually create these little distilleries on the boundaries of land, so it wasn't actually clear who was responsible. When the excise man would rock up during a brew, they'd simply leg it.
There he is. The moonshiner spots the booze busters just in the nick of time, flees to freedom, and escapes the $1,500 fine. Moving in on the makeshift still house, the police discover the illegal operation in full production. The stone hut is taken apart for the superintendent to assess the situation.
Each barrel contains water, 56 pounds of barley, 4 stone of sugar, and yeast. And it's left there to ferment for approximately 3 to 4 days. The finished product comes out here. They normally have a container under it.
Then, the ultimate test.
Real good stuff.
The police dismantle every still they bust and dump the Mountain Dew. There's enough for 100 bottles here, which would sell for $9 apiece. The moonshiner makes a 50% profit on each one. Armed with evidence, the police head back to the station, having put another brewmaster out of business, at least for now. Meanwhile, at a local pub, I had a chance meeting an hour later with a suspicious man.
Did I see you this morning? I did, didn't I? You're running really quickly. You're in good shape.
I know. Keep up with it. You'll have to.
Moonshiner Patsy Hines is part of folklore that's preserved in stories and songs in Gaelic.
His thoughts could taste their spirits in the arse of his throat. They would make a fine poitín.
Even though it's now legal to produce with a license since 1997, many still brew it illegally to get around taxation, ensuring that this blisteringly strong ancient booze continues to be a symbol of Irish heritage, customs and determination. Archaeological records show distilling the spirit domestically was commonplace in the country in 1400. Traditions surrounding the making of this drink are still passed down from Irish generation to generation to this day.
Well, son, you're of age, and it's plain to be seen. It's time I taught you how to make the poitín.
A bunch of ingredients have been associated with the drink, including grains, berries, fruit, barley and potatoes. But according to Dave Mulligan, a poitín expert in County Down, there's some misconceptions surrounding all this. The most annoying myth for me is that real poitín has to be made from potatoes, he told the BBC in 2020. He said barley is the most important ingredient in the brewing process. Potatoes, other grains and fruits only came into it because poitín makers had to get around the law. When production was illegal, you couldn't be malting barley, he said. That would send up plumes of smoke. You'd be spotted from 50 miles away. He refers to poitín as, quote, the daddy of all whiskies. To write it off as an illicit moonshine or cheap whiskey is missing the point, he said. Whiskey came from poitín. It was discovered by accident that putting poitín in wooden barrels mellowed out the spirit. Then it was commercialized and regulations were put in place to define exactly what whiskey is. The EU stipulates that whiskey must be aged for at least 3 years, while poitín cannot be aged for more than 10 weeks. In 2008, poitín was awarded a geographical indication by the EU, meaning that Irish producers were the only people that could legally produce it. So even though it's now become a valuable export for the country, it's also still got this underground status because many people still produce it illegally so they can avoid having the license and having to pay the taxes.
The Connemara poitín still is really no different from that used by moonshiners the world over. All you need is 2 40-gallon barrels, 3 stone of barley, 2 stone of sugar, a little yeast, and in about 3 hours, when the brew has slowly filtered through the copper worm, the heart of the still, you have 6 gallons of poitín. No, he assured the sergeant, there was no whiskey at all. No whiskey at all being made in the area now. Whiskey is, of course, what the locals call poitín, and the shop-bought bottle, just in case you may be getting a bit confused, is generally referred to as a bottle of Parliament. But there are others, particularly when the Gardaí aren't around, who are willing to admit that they made whiskey once upon a time.
I did, sir. I did, to be sure. But my father and my brother, we used to be making it.
Gather up the pots and the old tin can, the mash, the corn, the barley and the bran. Run like the devil from the Excise Man, keep the smoke from rising, Barney. Keep your eyes well peeled today, the Excise Men are on the way, searching for the mountain tay and the hills of Connemara.
Right, here we go. It's extremely strong when you can feel it goes. You can feel it going down your throat there. It's extremely strong. To be honest with you, it was not as strong as I thought it was going to be. Slight burning sensation on my tongue. But yeah, you can certainly feel it warming you up down there. I can taste the sort of like citrusy aftertaste. But it's actually quite nice. A lot nicer than I thought a 90% ABV spirit would taste like, to be fair. I was expecting it to blow my head off, but it kind of tasted a bit like an XO. But yeah, there was definitely citrusy aftertaste to it. But yeah, pretty nice stuff. The interest for me comes a lot in this sort of cat and mouse game that you have between the authorities and the poitín brewers. It kind of reminds me of cannabis culture, where you have little DIY cannabis growers dotted around a town because it's a cottage industry that emerges from Prohibition. Then you have sort of like these sort of like heroes and villains. Reputations can be sort of like diminished overnight if someone brews a bad batch or grows a bad batch. The idea of when something's prohibited, you can sort of thumb your nose at society by producing it is something that sort of has a lot of appeal for me. According to this 2015 study, poitín was often brewed by village widows in rural areas and sold in unlicensed pubs called shebeens. A wash was created and fermented before the brewing can begin. Prior to the introduction of bottled gas, the fire to heat the wash was provided by turf. Smoke was a giveaway for the authorities, so windy, broken weather was chosen as still was heated and attended to for several days to allow the runs to go through. The old style of Poitín distilling was from a malted barley base for the mash, the same as single malt whiskey or pure pot still whiskey. According to this 1965 study, the widespread availability of this illegal drink was brought about due to the fact that the beverage was sometimes the only source of livelihood for some people in the community, and it gave them a bit of financial freedom over the ruling class.
It costs 1 shilling to make a pint of Poitín, but you can sell it for 25 bob, more than 2,000% profit.
Poitín did not only provide the pleasure of an alcoholic drink, it also assisted members of the peasantry with rental money. The quality of Poitín, according to this 1997 study, is highly variable depending on the skill of the distiller and the quality of their equipment. Reputations were built on the quality of the product, and many families became known for their distilling expertise. But one bad batch could put a distiller out of business overnight.
Maar we zouden ik dacht toen die koeien bij deze daar we de beloeven. We zijn nu bewegen. We checken bij die baanschijf, de toorschijf. We checken bij die baasschijf. We checken bij die gelijken van pindaal. We staan samen haar aan. Dan net het Poitín en de hoorga. Dus ik nog geen wale scheren kan naar
So I don't think it's a good idea for me to have more than one sip of this straight because of how strong it is. So what I'm going to do is have a cocktail because I found a recipe for a Poitín cocktail online. But before that, here's how the underground illegal distillers made this in the 1960s.
The tools of the trade and the ingredients are simple enough. A still, often just a metal barrel, a funnel, and a copper worm. A tenner would set you up in business.
This is how it's done.
This is how it's done.
Can you explain the process
I can.
to me, Natty?
I can.
What's this now?
That's beer. They call that beer.
Uh-huh.
It is made out of malting barley.
That's your fermented liquor?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was steeped in that barrel first, you see.
I see.
And then, when it was there for about 4 days, and then we put it over into this,
and boil it
boiler.
Up.
And it's boiling now, and it will come up on vapor.
Yeah.
Into this head and go along here, then you see. Down here, this is the worm. That's what they call the worm too.
Into the water to be cool?
Yes.
I see.
And out there, then the whiskey is coming. That's the whiskey out there. See.
Now, how much would you make at a doing?
4 gallons and a half.
Now, how long would that take?
About, to run it,
Aye.
about 6 hours.
A night's work, in fact?
Most of a night. If you have a fire, going, you know, it will take a good while before the fire is red. Fit to put it boiling, you see.
Yeah, I see.
And then you have to run it secondly.
Oh?
You have to run it secondly.
Distill it twice, you
mean?
Why?
The first run, now that's coming out there, it is only singling, they call it.
It's not strong enough the first
That's
time,
strong
I
enough.
mean. How good is it?
Yeah, it is very strong.
Is it as good
Did
as...
you ever taste any of it?
No.
Didn't you? There it is there. Look.
This is safe now.
Oh, that's...
Nothing will blow off.
Oh, that's pure whiskey.
Uh-huh.
You can taste that now. That's good.
Well, it's certainly strong.
Now then, guys, welcome to the Poitín cocktail making class. What can I do you for? Glass of Poitín cocktail? No problem. Right, this one is called the Leprechaun. I got it off a random website on the internet. So firstly, we've got the Poitín, 90%, apple juice, ginger beer, ice, and of course a lime, wedge of lime. The only time I've tried Poitín before was when I got given a bottle of it when I was about 14, which was from a really old brew. It came in a sort of glass 𝘿𝙧𝙪𝙜𝙀 bottle. That's the only time I've tried Poitín before today. That was like 20 years ago. it is 1 1/4 ounces of the Poitín. Not too much. There's so many myths and legends around Poitín, and that's why I find it, that's one of the reasons that I find it quite interesting. I've heard that you can use it to power a tractor. If anyone knows if that's true, let me know in the comments section. The other legends and myths that I've heard around Poitín include that it sort of helps you, it makes people see fairies, or the fairies that people see when they're on Poitín can actually protect their stills from the authorities, stop them getting busted. Also heard that it can make people go blind. I think that's probably because if someone was quite bad at brewing Poitín, then they would make a more methanol based drink rather than ethanol. That would attack people's optic nerves and make them go blind. And that's where I presume, or I think maybe, the sort of phrase blind drunk comes from. Don't know. So that's the apple juice that's gone in, 2 shots of apple juice, and then you bring it up to the top with ginger beer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the leprechaun cocktail. Really, it's interesting because it tastes nice. It still tastes fairly strong. The smell of the Poitín brings me straight back to when I was 14, drinking the cheapest vodka available, the Glen's vodka. But the taste is much, much nicer than Glen's vodka. And yeah, with this, it's quite a nice cocktail, quite citrusy, got some malty flavors there. You don't get the burning sensation in your mouth going down your gullet on the cocktail. But it can still tastes fairly strong. But yeah, it's pretty nice. Would I order this at my local bar? It wouldn't be my first option, I don't think. I wouldn't recommend incorporating this drink into any form of wider sesh whatsoever. Definitely, if someone offered it me at the afters, I probably would not take it. But on its own, in moderation, a lovely drink. I think it's really interesting that people are keeping this heritage alive, even if it's in the form of the modern day legal overground versions of Poitín that's sold largely as a luxury product. But even the people that are still to this day refusing to pay the tax and refusing to sort of adhere to the regulations around this, so they still to this day have illegal underground DIY distills. So I will say, here's to the Poitín makers, outlaw or otherwise, past and present. Cheers.